I just wonder if they're going to look at the NHS, not the front line, but look at voluntary redundancies for middle managers, more bureaucratic roles, by a way of kind of freeing up cash. It's going to be something that I think is worth looking at.
Want to go on then to Wes Streeting next, who is the Shadow Health Secretary from the Labour Party, of course. He was speaking to Laura Kuenssberg on Sunday morning on the BBC, and he said all roads lead back to Westminster when he was challenged on, well, I suppose his party's attacks really, on how the SNP have been running the NHS in Scotland. He was challenged by Laura Kuenssberg on whether his party could be trusted to run the NHS. She cited terrible problems in the Welsh Health Service, where Labour are in charge. Let's have a listen to what Wes Streeting had to say.
Right across the United Kingdom, every part of the NHS is in crisis, and all roads do lead back to Westminster, because even though this is devolved, decisions taken in Westminster have an impact on the NHS across the whole country.
Geoff, he also said there that the SNP privately believed a Labour government in Westminster would be better for the NHS in Scotland. Has Wes Streeting, who is usually considered to be a very capable, clear communicator, a very effective Shadow Health Secretary, loads of ideas on what to do with the NHS, has he misstepped here, and if so, how badly?
Well, firstly, he is a hugely talented guy. I mean, I quite enjoy listening to him, and I think he is full of ideas. But I think he might have just said the quiet bit out loud and given his Scottish Labour colleagues a bit of a headache. I mean, Anna Sarwar has, to be fair, made some significant inroads at First Minister's questions, in particular on the state of the NHS and health in Scotland. And now we have the next Health Secretary, likely to be, saying that all roads lead back to Westminster in terms of funding and all the rest of it. Now that is, in pure crude politics, a great opportunity for the SNP. I think any time health is mentioned by Labour in the Scottish Parliament, you're going to hear that mantra played back at them. But I think it's significant for another reason as well. John Swinney indicated yesterday that there's going to have to be public sector funding cuts. And I just wonder if they're going to look at the NHS, not the front line, but look at voluntary redundancies for middle managers, more bureaucratic roles, by a way of kind of freeing up cash. It's going to be something that I think is worth looking at. And now you've got that kind of political cover of Wes Streeting's intervention on the Laura Kuenssberg programme. Perhaps it's more palatable to consider that. So really interesting contribution. Not sure Anna Sarwar will be toasting Wes Streeting anytime soon, given his focus on the issue of late.
Andy, we heard Wes Streeting there. He says right across the UK, every part of the NHS is in crisis. All roads do lead back to Westminster, because even though this is devolved, decisions taken in Westminster have an impact on the NHS across the whole country. I mean, there's a point in that, isn't there, that Wes Streeting is making?
I think this is utter drivel, honestly. I really do. I mean, this is just the most boring constitutional guff. This is what drives me mad about us. It was an entirely uncontroversial thing to do. For anybody who's heard of the Barnett formula, the more money Wes Streeting spends on health in England, the more money the Scottish Government's got to spend on health in Scotland. And that's what he was saying. It wouldn't be the first time that somebody in Westminster says something relatively innocent and doesn't realise that as soon as it goes past Hadrian's Wall, we package it up and go completely mental about it, right? So, and that is what we've done here. Wes Streeting, by the way, is the one politician of any party anywhere in the UK that actually says interesting things about health, because he understands that fundamentally our problem in the health service is actually not money. Our problem in the health service is the way that we run it. We don't run our health service you listeners, find me another Western European country that runs their health service like we do. You'll be looking for a very long time. We're a total and utter basket case. And Wes Streeting understands that. And I think that the more involvement Wes Streeting has in health policy in England, I think the thing that will hopefully make a big difference is that up here, we'll look at it and we'll say, actually, there's something that might work. Maybe we should have a look at that too.
Yeah. Yeah, listen, Andy makes a fair point, and I'm purely going on the politics of this. I mean, I just thought that the phrase "all roads lead back to Westminster," you could just literally see senior SNP politicians just licking their lips and rubbing their hands and thought, "Yeah, beauty, I'm going to be using that one." It's just how it was couched, you know.
But do you know what though? Like, and I mean,
political sense.
it's a laugh, right? But on a serious point, there will come a time where Scottish voters will just say, you know what, I've just had enough of that. I don't care about that. I don't care about that anymore. I don't care about leaflets coming through my door from the SNP saying, oh, West Streeting says that England's running the NHS. I don't know if we're at that point, but we're going to get to that point where we will say, you know what, just get on with it. I've had enough of this rubbish.
Fair.
Listen, I don't disagree with that. I just think that, you know, there's a wider point here. We haven't got time to probably discuss on today's podcast, and we will in future ones, is about how this election is going to be conducted and the territory is going to be conducted. I was really struck. I mentioned earlier. I didn't mention earlier because we're about to talk about income tax ownership.
Just say one thing I've been considering, because then when you come back to it later, it's fine.
You know, one thing I've been considering, and I've mentioned this podcast before, is the similarities in approach and the unwillingness from our political parties to diverge in big issues and be bold. And you just wonder how this manifests itself into health, which, let's be clear, will not be is not a topic of significant discussion normally in a Westminster context because it's devolved. I wonder if it will be now, and will that have a negative reaction from the wider public, as Andy suggests. We'll wait and see.
Thank you so much for watching. Press subscribe and you'll get all the best videos offering insight on Scottish politics delivered straight to your feed. Press subscribe and stick around. And if you'd like to hear our conversations in full, open up your podcast app and search for Holyrood Sources.